I'm gonna tell you something that you really don't want to hear. There's too much going on in your brain right now for you to handle. You probably try to convince yourself otherwise. You tell yourself you'll do this, you'll remember that, but history proves again and again that you will not. Okay, well, that's the end of this video. See you later, folks. Just kidding. Let's talk about what you can do about it. The CEO of a company I used to work at once said to me, "My goal as the CEO is to offload as much work as I possibly can so I can spend my time just thinking about stuff, because that's how I can add the most value to this company." If he was involved with everything going on in the company, he'd have no time left to steer it. In fact, if he was involved with everything, he would really have no time left over for anything of importance, because that's way too much for one person to handle on their own. This is the problem with micromanagers.
It's not how I do it.
They work like crazy, but are ultimately less efficient and effective for a company because you have one person doing the work that would otherwise be done by multiple people. Unsuccessful managers
cannot do it.
Now, what if I told you the same thing is happening in your brain right now? That you have a micromanagement problem with your own brain. If you have ADHD, that might seem a little silly. It might feel like you have the opposite problem, like there's no management happening within your brain whatsoever. But that's not true, is it? Because you are constantly, actively trying to pull your attention to the right places. In fact, you are trying too hard. You are trying to micromanage that process and therefore failing. And it's time we have a little talk, Mr. and Mrs. Micromanager. It's time that you relinquish some control over to your team. Well, technically it's not really a team, more so an assortment of tools that do the work that you're wasting your energy on. Let's take a simple example, shall we? ADHDers often have trouble with their internal clocks. You can call it time blindness, you can call it poor time management, to put it in executive functioning terms, but whatever you call it, don't call me on time. Now, when time management is a challenge, doing work that involves managing your time is a challenge. And that means that an eventual breakdown will happen, or it won't, but you will expend a disproportionate amount of energy on the task. That means that you're gonna run out of steam faster. And when you have ADHD, you need all the steam you can get. So what's the answer to this challenge? Well, if our internal clock is broken, we can just... Now, what this doesn't mean is that you can just put a little clock on your desk and call it a day. Time management problems aren't just a matter of not knowing what time it is throughout the day. Yes, that probably also is a problem, but it's usually not the one that gets you into trouble. The problem is our inability to accurately sense the passage of time. So that's what we need to solve for. And a very simple way to do that is to use timers. And I don't mean on your phone. Your phone is a minefield. I mean a separate, dedicated timer. The one I recommend the most is called a gravity timer. It has different increments of time, and all you need to do is turn it over to that time to set it. That's it. It's a very frictionless process. Accurately sensing the passage of time has just been externalized. You can use this to keep track of your productive and your unproductive time. If I'm going to scroll on my phone at my desk, I'll set this to 5 minutes to make sure that I don't get sucked in and lose hours. A simple solution to a very pervasive problem. Now, will this solve all of your time management problems?
Hell no.
Will it help you potentially a lot? Yes, absolutely. And I can say that because I use this and it helps me, somebody who has ADHD, and the clients that I work with who also have ADHD on a daily basis. Now, while we're talking about time, let's talk about more time, or time over a longer period of time. Days, weeks, months. Yes, the clock is a problem. Yes, the calendar is also a problem, or the clock of the month, as some people call it. Just kidding, literally no one calls it that. One of the biggest problems with calendars is that they're not always there when you need them. Think about this. Every time you look at your phone, or at the bottom right of your computer monitor, or at the wall in your office, you see a clock, and you still have trouble keeping track of the time. What does that say about a calendar that's not constantly in your face and that you have to open up an app to access? Yes, there are physical paper calendars that you can have right on your desk, but those are pretty functionally unrealistic relative to an e-calendar. If only there was a way to get your e-calendar into your physical environment. Well, fortunately, there is in fact a way to get your digital calendar into your non-digital space, digitally or non, with this. This is the Skylight Calendar 2. It's a dedicated touchscreen smart device that sits right out in the open, right where your little peepers need it to be. It syncs with your Google Calendar, Apple, Outlook, and Yahoo, for those of you still using a Yahoo calendar. It color codes family members, which makes it perfect for families. My 4-year-old can't read yet, but she can see when her color is on the calendar, which is really fun. And it's more than just a calendar. It has a built-in chore and routine tracker. You can set up daily habits, and checking them off directly on the touchscreen gives you that immediate hit of satisfaction that helps make routines stickier. It even has a meal planning feature, which takes the daily, what are we doing for dinner decision fatigue completely off the table. Having a persistent physical visual cue in your environment is one of the single best executive functioning hacks out there. Heck, I'm dedicating an entire YouTube video to the idea. It gets the schedule out of your head, off your phone, off your computer, and into your physical world where you can actually interact with it. It's great for individuals with ADHD, it's extra great for families containing ADHD individuals, and in a world of a million gimmicky products that claim to help people with ADHD, this one really gets it right. Organization, planning, remembering things in your field of vision, and it reduces distraction, is a big win in the world of an ADHDer. Now let me just say this so there are no surprises. The calendar, to-do lists, chore tracking, color coding, all of that is included. There is an option to sign up for a yearly subscription, which gives you access to additional features like turning it into a digital frame, advanced meal planning, and a cool chore reward system, which is great for kids. But a subscription is not necessary to get access to all of the core features. So if you want to free up some serious mental bandwidth, you need to get your hands on one of these bad boys. Head on over to myskylight.com and use code LifeActuator40 at checkout to get $40 off your Skylight Calendar 2, or just use the link that I put in the description below. Trust me, your future self is going to thank you. Okay, let's keep going. ADHDers often fall for the fallacy that everyday routines don't need systems. We look at something basic like getting ready for bed at night and think, this is basic stuff. But behind the scenes, we're actually expending a disproportionate amount of executive energy just to get through it. The micromanager in your head is breathing its hot breath all over the neck of your organization, prioritization, task initiation, impulse control, and more. Again, it may seem silly to develop a process around something that feels trivial, but that's the micromanager talking, and it's time to relinquish control. If a process is repeatable, one of the best things you can do to alleviate your mental energy is create a standard operating procedure, or SOP, for it. The idea is for you to define the steps that you need to take to carry out a process when your brain is fully online, so you don't have to do it again, especially when your brain is not online. By doing this, you're avoiding the need to have your brain actively rebuild the sequence from scratch in your working memory every time you carry out the process. Let me give you a personal example. Every night I have to shut down the kitchen and get ready for the night. That alone is worthy of an SOP. Now throw in a 4-year-old and a bottle-fed 3-month-old into the mix. Before I had an SOP, even though I carried out this process every night, thinking about every step and making multiple trips up and down the stairs to get things that I forgot not only took a lot of time, but was particularly draining considering my brain was typically already fried at that point from a full day. After the SOP, I'm able to breeze through the process with plenty of time left over to read to my 4-year-old before everyone gets to bed. And here's what it looks like. As you can see, it does not need to be complicated. This one little sheet of paper goes a long way towards freeing up my energy. And here are some more ideas. Keep an external voice recorder with you. Yes, you could record with your phone, but it requires multiple steps to get to the recorder app. You really want something that can capture at the click of a button, and bonus points if it's wearable. Kanban your desk with sticky notes. Set up 3 columns separated by tape and label to do, doing, done. Hang things up you use a lot so you don't have to waste time hunting for them. Scissors, tape, a Sharpie. Bonus points if you build stuff to help you organize. I built this little pegboard wall so I can hang some stuff I use for filming. It's out of the way, organized, looks cool, and it was fun to create. That's a win-win, win-win-win-win. Well, you've just fired your micromanager. You are now offloading the work involved in keeping track of the passage of time to a gravity timer, your schedule to a visual calendar, your routines to an SOP, and hopefully I've inspired you to look for other areas in your life where you can offload that energy-intensive work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Your brain finally has room to breathe. The CEO is back in the corner office with time to think about where they want to take the company. But, and this is a big but, what happens when you clear up that bandwidth? Well, it's important that you are conscious about how you fill that time. If you create an extra hour in your day and then you spend it watching YouTube videos, that's fine if that's how you want to spend that time. It's not fine if that isn't how you want to spend your extra time. Now that may sound kind of obvious, but believe it or not, that it's not. Knowing what to do with your time is an entirely separate battle. There are two sides of this: offloading your work so you can get your energy back, and then the other side is how you use that energy, being intentional about your energy. And that's a whole nother video. Now, pause. If you want to stop micromanaging your brain for good and start building daily systems that work with your ADHD, you need to check out the ADHD Superhero Blueprint linked in the description below. It's designed to help you map out your executive functions and finally offload the heavy lifting and protect your energy. The idea is you run a dysfunctional superhero agency and you bring me on as a consultant to whip your heroes into shape, which is all, of course, a big metaphor for ADHD. I put a lot of love into this thing, and I think you're not only going to find it really helpful, but also fun and engaging too. In other words, built for ADHD. That's the ADHD Superhero Blueprint, built by me for you. If you like my style, I think you're gonna love this. Can't wait to see you there. All right, folks, that's a wrap. As always, thank you so much for joining me down ADHD App. If you haven't already, please like this video, comment, subscribe, send a mass email to your coworkers, hand out brochures to your neighbors, call your local politician, and please join me for the next one. Thank you so much. I love you. Goodbye. Goodbye.